Welcome back to the Neurodiversity Voices podcast, where we amplify real voices, real stories, and real impact. Today I'm joined by Bob Schmus, a licensed clinical social worker, autism advocate, public speaker, writer, and creator of Bob's Neuro Tidbits. Bob's journey is one of resilience, purpose, and authenticity. After being diagnosed with autism as a teenager, he came to understand that the differences he had experienced throughout his childhood weren't flaws to overcome. They were part of who he is. That realization not only changed the course of his own life, but also inspired a career dedicated to supporting and empowering other neurodivergent individuals. Drawing from both his professional expertise and lived experience, Bob has become a trusted voice in the autism community, advocating for greater understanding, acceptance, and meaningful support for autistic people throughout every stage of life. This work reminds us that some of the most powerful insights come from those who have lived the experiences they're striving to improve. I'm grateful he took the time to join us today, and I'm excited to share our conversation with you. Here's my conversation with Bob Schmus.
That refresh you've been putting off until the right deal came along? It's here! Wayfair's Black Friday and July sale is happening now, so you can finally get the style you've been waiting for less. Get up to 80% off area rugs and up to 60% off outdoor and bedroom furniture. Shop Wayfair's huge selection of styles and find the piece to fit your style, budget, and space. Plus, free shipping. Black Friday in July ends July 27th. Shop today at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
There's a pill version of Ozempic.
Hello, I'm Ozempic.
And I'm other GLP-1s kind of like him. Hey, did I hear there's a pill version of Ozempic?
Yep, you sure did. Ask your doctor about which FDA-approved uses of the Ozempic pen or pill may be right for you. Call 1-833-OZEMPIC or visit Ozempic.com to view the medication guide and learn more about Ozempic semaglutide tablets 9 milligrams and Ozempic semaglutide injection 2 milligrams.
There's a pill version of Ozempic.
All new drinks are now at McDonald's. Like the strawberry watermelon refresher, the mango pineapple refresher with popping boba, and the Sprite berry blast topped with cold foam. Who knew ice cold drinks could be so fire?
The sun's out, and so is our new drink lineup. From the Blackberry Passion Fruit Refresher to the Dirty Dr. Pepper. And they all pair perfectly with some fries. Refreshers contain caffeine. Va-da-ba-ba-ba.
Bob, welcome to the Neurodiversity Voices podcast. To begin, could you introduce yourself and tell us about the journey that led you to becoming both a therapist and an autism advocate?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. I just want to say that it all started really when I was a young kid. When I was young, I've always thought I was, different. I had focused interest. Certain social situations gave me a lot of anxiety. It was hard to articulate certain things. And for me, when I had an IEP or an individual learning plan in school, but I didn't know what I had. I didn't know of really what autism was. That wasn't until it was around in early high school. That's when like the social anxiety and depression got really bad to the point where I had to go to the hospital, to the psychiatric unit, like where it was President's Day weekend 2005. I was 15 years old. And during that time, I was in that youth psychiatric unit, and I met with, psychologists, social workers, therapists, you name it. And they went over some of the past evaluations I had when I was younger. And told they said, "Well, Robert, one thing that we've discussed, we really think you have autism." Well, back then it was Asperger's, which is now part of the autism spectrum. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know, like, I've heard it here and there, and what they said. They told me exactly what it was, the characteristics of it. And when I heard about, the narrowed interests and also the focus, all that, it and how it's difficult in social situations,
Mm-hmm.
and it it was like, oh my God, everything's making sense now. Well, this is why I'm the way I am. And when I get anxious, I would do something like flick something, which is like stimming,
Mm-hmm.
and I would also script from things that I hear, and stimming helps me to calm down. So just hearing all that is making me understand that, wow, this can all this makes sense. And then not only that, but I'm not the only person who has this.
Mm.
See, to me, just hearing that was, and I've since then, like, I'm sorry, hearing that was changed everything. And
Mm-hmm.
so after that, I learned everything I can about autism and what it what things are helpful, what things are not. And one thing I've noticed is that when you become uh, an adult, it's called going off the cliff. It means all those services you had when you were a kid and a teen were gone, and you have to apply for other adult services if needed. And that can be difficult. So that's why it led me to become an advocate, to show them, like, to help others understand, you're not alone, and this is a place, and you have a spot in this world. That's also led me to be a therapist, because I thought, there's a lot of things that that are not talked about within the autism community, like those struggling with anxieties, those struggling with depression, those having to mask. Masking is like you had to, like, act neurotypical in order to get to be where you are. And that just, and to me, I wanted to help them, and
Mm-hmm.
I thought, and helping them in with both my lived experience and also as a way to meet them where they're at. That's how I wanted to become a therapist.
Did you know something was different, or did you simply feel misunderstood?
I well, when I meant, like, something different, like, I knew there was something different about me. Like, I guess you can say, and like I said, I had difficulty with understanding certain situations, of
Mm-hmm.
understanding, like, how to how to act well, not how to act in social situations, but how to, like, how to. It was hard for me to, like, be myself. The, I learned, like, I was able to learn it, and of course, it always depended on who I was comfortable unmasking to, and also who I felt when, and, like, how what type of situation it was. So, I guess it wasn't really, I don't feel, maybe there was a bit of misunderstanding, but mostly, like, feeling different.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What were some of the biggest challenges during childhood and high school?
I think that for me, wow, well, there's a lot of challenges. I guess childhood, it was more like finding my place, finding my space, finding what I can learning the I love learning. I love learning the world around me and just understanding where I am and how I can, how I can be in certain ways. And just also it I guess like I said before, like there are certain ways especially when I was a teenager and in middle school, I had to felt like I had to mask, which masking is when you have to like hide your characteristics and try to be someone who is neurotypical. And and although it's been taught for we, us neurodivergents have been taught to in the past to mask, but at the end of the day, it's very draining for us. So I guess like especially when I was a teen, early teens, I had to like felt like I had to mask. I had to like hide certain things about myself. It really like wasn't until I was fully diagnosed at 15 that I like wanted to drop that mask.
That refresh you've been putting off until the right deal came along? It's here! Wayfair's Black Friday and July sale is happening now, so you can finally get the style you've been waiting for less. Get up to 80% off area rugs and up to 60% off outdoor and bedroom furniture. Shop Wayfair's huge selection of styles and find the piece to fit your style, budget, and space. Plus, free shipping. Black Friday in July ends July 27th. Shop today at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
There are moments that define who you are and who you're becoming. And when those moments arrive, what you drive should rise to meet them. The Range Rover Sport commands attention from the very first glance. Every line, every detail, engineered for impact. Inside, refinement takes over with sculpted 22-way heated seating with available massage and a 13.1-inch touchscreen that puts everything within easy reach. But the Range Rover Sport isn't just about luxury. It's about uncompromised performance, too, delivering a powerful, agile drive that feels as confident as it looks. And with nearly endless ways to personalize, from interior finishes to wheels to unique colors and accessories, your Range Rover Sport becomes unmistakably yours. For those who expect more from every moment, there's a vehicle designed to meet it. The Range Rover Sport. Exclusive offers available now. Explore further at rangerover.com.
Looking back now, what makes more sense through the lens of autism?
Well, looking now, like for me, just I how I see the world. Like how I see the world, like how I have a focused interest, like history, culture, music, those are my focused interests.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing how those are my focus. That's how I see the world. That's how I saw the world when I was younger, and now knowing what autism consists of, makes more sense why I am the way I am. And just also how I perceive things differently. I always perceive things differently. That's something that's always been known about myself, just seeing the world differently.
Receiving a diagnosis often changes the way we understand our entire life story. What happened during high school that eventually led to your diagnosis?
Well, no, it was, like I said, it was President's Day weekend, 2005. There were a lot of like social events that are coming up, and I really thought I was so like having like I'm sorry, let me backtrack. I
Yeah.
I was in that situation where I was like pressuring myself with all the social events coming up, and I just got to the point where I had to feel like overwhelmed. I just got really I'm sorry. It's trying to recall it all. And it was at that moment where I told the school therapist there what I was doing, like how I was feeling, and and I had to be sent to the psychiatric unit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was the darkest day, one of the darkest days of my life. Although it led to me understanding who I was, it's like you have to go through hell, go through hell before you get to heaven, you know?
Mhm. How did receiving that diagnosis change your understanding of yourself?
Well, it it showed how, like I said, it helped me identify who I was
Mhm.
as a person, you know?
Mhm.
It led to understand why I have certain characteristics about myself, why I do things a certain way.
Mhm.
It was a game changer for me, being diagnosed. Because now there's I don't want to say label. I want to say like there's an understanding now why I am the way I am. And that there's nothing wrong with the way I am. There's no deficiency or anything. Yes, there's difficulties, there's struggles, but you know, I I go them one
Mhm.
step at a time.
Did it bring relief, validation, grief, or all of those?
For me, it brought a sense of both relief and validation, like relief to know like what it is, and validation just, knowing that it's not the whole of me, but a part of me. Mostly. I wouldn't say grief.
What role has self acceptance played in your journey?
Well, it for me, it I'm able to know who I am and how I am as a person, and the qualities that I have. It helped me know that, my autism brings me great qualities, like the focus of interests, and seeing things in a different way. And n- learning that since my diagnosis has brought me to a sense of self acceptance.
Mhm. You often encourage people not to be so hard on themselves. Why is that message so important?
Well, when we are our own self critics. We tend to be very critical of ourselves. Self deprecation can be a human characteristic. And I know even myself, like I can be very self critical of myself at times. So the reason why I say not to be hard on ourselves is because, we're all doing what we can. And just because someone else is at a different spot than you are doesn't mean that you're behind. That doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean that you're not doing what you need to do. It just shows that they're just on their own journey. And what you got to focus on is focus on your journey and what you need to do for yourself. And if we're so hard on ourselves, then we can't really see the things we've already accomplished and the things that we can accomplish. and are currently accomplishing. And I think it's kind of hard for a lot of us autistics because, you know, we we always see others in different stages of their lives, but you know what? It's okay to be where we are as long as we're focusing on working on ourselves.
One thing that really stood out during our pre-conversation was your perspective on masking. What is masking, and why do so many autistic people do it?
Well, for me, masking is where you have to or also called camouflaging,
Mhm.
is when you have to basically hide your autistic characteristics. For example, hide yourself from stimming, or hide yourself from discussing your favorite subject, or hide yourself from in ways you interact with others that don't, even if that type of interaction is not harmful. So, instead replace it or mask it with a type of personality or characteristics that are not you or neurotypical. And this type of learning has been used not not just self not just self-pressured, but also been pressured from externally certain schools have done it, certain therapies have done it. And although it might seem okay, it can help them in social situations, the reality of it is that it is highly draining. It is anxiety provoking, and it is overwhelming to the point of burnout. Like I've known people who had the mask so much that it brings them to tears after doing so. And during when I had the mask, it just felt like something was off. Just I was being me. And fortunately, today people are understanding now that okay, this type of masking is not safe. It's not helpful, and it does more damage to the person than it does good. Very much more damage.
That refresh you've been putting off until the right deal came along? It's here! Wayfair's Black Friday and July sale is happening now, so you can finally get the style you've been waiting for less. Get up to 80% off area rugs and up to 60% off outdoor and bedroom furniture. Shop Wayfair's huge selection of styles and find the piece to fit your style, budget, and space. Plus, free shipping. Black Friday in July ends July 27th. Shop today at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
For my family, I'm always at my best. That's why I also want the best in my kitchen. And that means only Eggland's Best Eggs. They're always so fresh tasting and delicious. With 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, and 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. So why give your family less when they can have the best? Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs. For added convenience, look for our hard-cooked peeled eggs.
You mentioned that people discouraged your stimming when you were younger. Can you
Yes.
explain why stimming is actually important?
Yes. When I was younger, stimming was, of course, back then, this was like like a early 90s. When I stimmed, people didn't understand it. And then you wouldn't tell me just, oh, stop, people were going to look. And, but to me, I didn't find it embarrassing at all, and and for the most part, I didn't see anyone notice when I was stimming. So I see it, and it helps me maintain myself, and it still does to this day. Going back, and this goes back to the earlier question of misunderstood. That I think it was the most misunderstood is how people didn't understand how, you know, that type of characteristic or stimming is actually good for the person. Like it can actually be a coping skill.
Mhm.
In fact, there's been times as a therapist, if if I have a autistic neurodivergent client and they have a history of anxiety and they use and they use like a sensory item to stim
Mhm.
and that helps, that can be put in their treatment plan. So it was really, if anything, it really helped to the help. It can help to maintain a person's mental health.
What happened when you began allowing yourself to be authentically autistic?
Well, well, what happened was, I got to really, well, first off, I started really, what happened to me is that like I said, started to know more about myself.
Mhm.
It's like self a self-reflection. Like
Mhm.
you you can see who you are, what helps you, and that really was very helpful for me.
Mhm.
A type of self-reflection. And as I grow older, I see how my autism continued within me, how it continues in you. Because one thing's for sure, you cannot cure autism. There is no cure and there should never be a cure. So seeing how it grows with me and how I'm able to understand more of myself, that really was, if anything, relieving to me.
Mhm. What advice would you give to someone who feels exhausted from masking?
Well, one thing I would say is, like I said before, never masking is not something that's going to be helpful in the end. And know who you are and know what helps you. For example, what what do you feel is something that you love? How do you feel when you do it? Does it help you in the end? How do you feel when you when you have a certain interest? How does it make you feel? Like really knowing who you are. And of course that all takes time. That can take a long time knowing who you are, or it can take a short time. It always depends on where you're at. Because it's your life and your journey. And masking unfortunately is not going to help you because it it will prevent you from being yourself.
What does authenticity look like today?
Authenticity today is like being your true self, having that raw energy to be yourself, knowing that you're human, knowing that, yeah, I make mistakes and I learn from them, but knowing that you're not perfect and knowing that you can do amazing things. You can, with the right amount of supports, you can reach your goals. And being your authentic self is knowing who you are, knowing what you're capable of, and knowing that you have a wealth of interest, a wealth of knowledge that you can bring out to the world. And just being yourself. I know it can be hard hearing that, especially in a world like today where there's all this pressure to try and be someone else. But at the end of the day, you're the only person who really knows you best.
Your lived experience also shapes the work you do every day as a therapist. How does being autistic influence the way you practice therapy?
Well, it's a lot. That lived experience can help brings a lot of empathy. I've worked with the autism with within the autism community as a therapist for many years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard stories within the community of autistic individuals who have histories of depression and anxiety, feeling that they're not they have no part in this world and feeling left out, feeling like outsiders. And I've had similar experiences. Of course it won't be the exact experience. Like one person might be from a different background, the other person might be of a different age or gender, but because they're neurodivergent like me, it's that type of lived experience. I'm able to empathize with them and meet them where they're at. And that has helped me in my work.
What does neurodiversity-affirming therapy actually mean?
To me, it means being able to meet them where they're at and seeing what helps them when currently, and also what has helped them in the past and how can it help them now. For example,
Mm-hmm.
like one of the things I ask my clients is when they talk about a certain situation that they've been through that gave them a lot of anxiety, I would say, I'm sorry it sounds like you've been through a lot. Has there been something, have you been in a situation like this in the past?
Mm-hmm.
And if so, what has helped you? And that's where meeting where they're at is. I feel that in therapy, it's not just the therapist finding the solution. It is also the client. It is a collaborative effort. And especially with neurodivergence, seeing what their interests are and how their interests and the things that give them joy, how that can help them reach their goal.
What are some common misconceptions therapists still have about autism?
I think a lot of the misconceptions today is that, we've always seen like autism as in the past it was mostly focused on like children and adolescents, and there wasn't much for adults.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have like back in the day, like adults of autism were sent to like, if they want employment, they would go to these workhouses. If they want like shelter, they would go to these like hospitals, which fortunately is not the case today.
Mm-hmm.
I think now what it is that no, the misconception is that people who are autistic, depending on, their support needs, can be independent. I think, meeting them where they're at is something, I know I've said that a lot, but I honestly do believe meeting them where they're at is a way to help them reach their goals. Fortunately, that meeting them where they're at is now more recognized in the therapy world. I've seen that. I'm seeing a lot more neuroaffirming therapists, neuroaffirming therapies. Like in the past, we had things like ABA, which
Mm-hmm.
basically, like, that's where mostly masking came from.
Mm-hmm.
Being told not to stim, being told not to do such and such, even though doing such and such was not hurting anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not focusing on what helps them.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, those type of therapies are not being seen as much, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to see.
What mental health challenges are you seeing most often among autistic clients?
I see a lot of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of depression, and I see a lot of issues when it comes of having difficulty with maintaining relationships and friendships. And I think the difficulty there is that, is having to be in situations where we have where it seemed like we're forced to mask.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even though we're now understanding where masking is not good, we're now like there's still that pressure from society to mask,
Mm-hmm.
and that much pressure is not good for us.
Mm-hmm. How do anxiety, emotional regulation, communication, and trauma intersect with autism?
Well, it's because sometimes we have difficulty with communicating our needs, with communicating our anxieties. Of course, there's different support needs. Like some autistics can be verbal, while others are not. It can still be difficult to articulate. Articulation can be difficult for us,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you see a lot of like some autistics who isolate. Some autistics, especially who have high support needs, like engaging in self-interest behaviors, is because they're not given a chance to communicate, or not given a chance to communicate what they feel is necessary. And I feel communication is key, and that's why meeting them where they're at and helping them communicate in a way they feel helps them is necessary and vital.
How about trauma? How does it intersect with autism?
Well, there's many autistics who've been through trauma. There's autistics who been sexually abused, or autistics who have gotten have post-traumatic stress from traumatic situations such as abuse, or being a victim, or being in certain places where they were purposely harmed, like in a lot of those schools, or in the past, and a lot of those therapies have been traumatic, and that trauma can be hard to articulate. And I think, and like I said many times, is meeting them where they're at to help them with managing the trauma.
Why is it so important that autistic clients feel understood rather than, quote, fixed, quote?
Because it's important for us to be understood, because we're human beings. We're part of the human race. We're not a disease. For many years, we're told, cure autism. Let's find a cure. Da 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 da. When in reality, it's not a disorder. It might say that in the DSM-5 or DSM-524, what have you, but it is a different way of being. It is a different way of thinking, a different way of communicating, a different way of seeing things. It's how we're wired. It's definitely how we're wired in a different way, and that is fine. That is perfectly fine. And that's who we are. And for us, and for others to understand that, is a great first step.
What does a really good therapist do differently?
Seeing the person for who they are. knowing that this is a person who has a lot on their chest and they want to get it out, helping them with that,
Mhm.
and just hearing them listen, being able to listen and to be receptive. That's what makes a good therapist. Doesn't matter what school you've been to, doesn't matter what type, if you know, like such and such evidence-based practice, being able to be there and listen. That is needed, to listen.
Beyond therapy, you've become an advocate for systemic change. Why did you decide to become an autism advocate?
Well, for me, like even after my diagnosis, there were certain things that were hard for me. There was certain things that were difficult, like will I be able to find a job? Will I be able to live away at school? Will I be able to live on my own? Just all those questions I felt weren't that I've that were asked of me, like I remember this was a year after my diagnosis. I was we get evaluated, like if you have an IEP, you get evaluated by outside
Mhm.
psychologists.
Mhm.
They come in and they talk to you about your diagnosis
Mhm.
and how you're doing and your functioning levels. I remember I told told the psychologist, listen, I know I feel that after high school, I want to go to college and live away at college. This, despite no matter what, I know that will help me socially and it will help me grow as a person. So after that, like a few weeks pass and we get like a our evaluation, and my evaluation comes in the mail, and I my parents and I, we read it. And in the summary, like it talked about like, what was discussed in the meeting. And then near the end, it said, Robert wanted to see if he can go to college
Mhm.
and live away at school. However, due to his autism or Asperger's, as what it was called then, it might not seem very realistic or
Mhm.
words such as that. And to me, I was very much taken aback by this and just, because I knew what I wanted. I knew what I felt would help me. It wasn't going to be easy, but I knew that. And fortunately, my parents were very supportive of my decision. Like they agreed that, going away to school would be best for me. And you know what? It was. I was
Mhm.
able to make friends that I still have today. I was able to focus on my studies, able to do a lot of activities, able to live on my own for 4 years. And I
Mhm.
survived. And it goes to show that, just because we're told we're not to due to autism what or whatever, that doesn't mean that it's true. As long as we keep our mind to it, we can do amazing things. It might not be easy, but we can do amazing things. And that's one of the things I advocate for. Seeing what the autistic person wants and helping them advocate for themselves. Also, spreading awareness about certain topics such as mental health, relationships, independence, employment, transitioning from adolescence to adulthood.
Mhm.
Those are things I advocate for.
You shared a story about someone telling you college wasn't realistic. And then you earned both your bachelor's and master's degrees. What did that teach you?
For me, that told me that I can defy expectations. I can defy expectations and that I can make such accomplishments.
That refresh you've been putting off until the right deal came along? It's here! Wayfair's Black Friday and July sale is happening now, so you can finally get the style you've been waiting for less. Get up to 80% off area rugs and up to 60% off outdoor and bedroom furniture. Shop Wayfair's huge selection of styles and find the piece to fit your style, budget, and space. Plus, free shipping. Black Friday in July ends July 27th. Shop today at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This is brought to you by Colgate Total Active Prevention. Some routines make perfect sense, like securing your seatbelt before driving. Just as buckling up helps prevent injury, using Colgate Total helps prevent oral health problems like cavities and gingivitis before they start. So put yourself in the driver's seat of your oral health and prevent problems before they start with Colgate Total Active Prevention. Available at a retailer near you.
Okay, Mr. Floofers, who's the coolest, most wonderful cat mama in the whole wide world? Meow twice if it's me. Okay, meow once if it's me. Okay, meow once if you want your Shiba. I knew you loved me.
Go from ignored to adored with Sheba. They have a menu of products, including Sheba Grilled, a protein-rich formula made with real chicken, served in 2 convenient, snappable servings. It's perfect for even the pickiest eater. Tap the banner to buy now or find Sheba at your favorite retailer.
What still needs to change for autistic adults?
I think what needs to still change is that we still need to talk about the things that are affecting us. Such as, there's a rate of substance abuse amongst autistic individuals that's not really well talked about. There's a discussion of mental health that still needs to be talked about. How we're perceived on the internet that needs to be talked about, and suicidal ideations that are not talked about as much. Those are things that need to be a focus.
If you could change one thing about society's understanding of autism, what would it be?
That's a very good question. The best thing I would say is we're all different. And if you really want to know about autism, just ask us. That communication is key. Like, hear us out. I've always believed that.
Let's have a lightning round. One word that describes autism.
Mind-blowing.
Biggest myth about autism.
That we're all great in tech.
Best advice you've ever received.
You've got this.
What's bringing you joy right now?
That I have a whole life ahead.
Coffee or tea?
A little bit of both.
Book you'd recommend?
Oh, we'll be all day. We'll be here all day for that one, because I'm an avid reader, so there's a lot of books.
Maybe one book.
Okay, it's going to be difficult.
You'd recommend?
Grapes of Wrath.
Can you say that again?
The Grapes of Wrath.
Okay. One thing you wish every therapist understood.
that with every client, it will have a different objective.
Mm-hmm. What gives you hope for the future?
Knowing that people are talking, and that even in this world of defensiveness and diversion, there are always going to be people who just want to sit and talk and hear each other out. That gives me hope, especially in the younger generation.
If listeners remember only one thing from today's conversation, what would you want it to be?
Just to listen to your neighbor
Mm-hmm.
and hear each other out. You might not agree, but just listen.
Bob, thank you so much for sharing your story so openly and honestly today. And where can people connect with you and learn more about your work?
Well, I'm currently on LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
at Robert Schmus, SCHM as in Mary,
Mm-hmm.
S as in Sam, comma, MSW, comma, LCSW. And also, I have an Instagram. It is all lowercase vintage, VINTAGE, lower line, Bob, BOB, lower line, 1989.
What about your Bob's Neuro Tidbits?
Oh, those can be found on my Instagram.
Mm-hmm. What about your public speaking, advocacy?
Well, that can be on my Speaker Hub page.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for sharing your story, Bob. It was great to speak with you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Bob, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your story with such honesty, humility, and hope. One of the biggest takeaways from our conversation is that autism isn't something that needs to be fixed. It's a different way of experiencing and engaging with the world. Your journey reminds us that understanding ourselves, embracing our youth, authentic identity, and finding people who truly listen can be life-changing. I also appreciate your message that we're often our own toughest critics. Giving ourselves grace, letting go of unrealistic expectations, and recognizing that everyone is on their own journey are lessons that extend far beyond the neurodivergent community. To learn more about Bob's work, including his therapy, advocacy, public speaking, writing, and Bob's Neuro Tidbits, be sure to check out the links in today's show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd be grateful if you would follow, rate, and share the Neurodiversity Voices podcast. Every conversation helps us build a more understanding, compassionate, and inclusive world. Choose nuance, choose understanding, and keep the conversation going. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep celebrating the beauty of diverse minds. Thanks for listening to the Neurodiversity Voices podcast, and we'll continue the conversation next time.